Today, we're going to be talking about outdated career advice that you need to ignore. This topic may get a little spicy. I may touch on probably some good info, like some advice you guys have heard, right? And some advice that you guys are like holding on with your type is. Remember, I do stream every Tuesday at 7:15 Central Standard Time. However, I will not be streaming next week. I will be out of town, being able to get me some rest. So you won't see me next week, but usually I do stream every Tuesday at 7:15 Central Standard Time. We are going to be talking about outdated career advice. If you guys are not able to stay on for the whole stream, do not worry about it. I am going to post the replay on my channel on YouTube, and I am Alicia Perkins. Alicia Perkins. So if you cannot stay on, that's fine. You are able to go back and watch that live stream again. So let's go ahead and we're going to be talking about outdated career advice that you need to ignore. First one that I want to talk about, and let me say this, right? I'm not saying that, this advice did not work at one point, but we are in a completely different job market right now, right? Things have changed tremendously, and I need you to understand that, right? What once worked does not work anymore, right? And then also a lot of the advice that you have heard, it wasn't made to serve you. It was not made to serve you, especially if you guys are working in corporate, right? They were built to make corporations successful, not you, right? And for anybody who knows, I was in HR for over 10 years, right? Hiring was my job. That's all that I did. And so when you're talking about working, right, in that atmosphere, you guys have to know that corporate America was not built to make you successful, right? So you guys are going to have to get into the mindset of doing what you need to do to make sure that you are seeing the success that you want to see. And so let's go ahead and start off with the first piece of advice, and that is experience gets you the job. Right. So if you believe that experience is what gets you the job, if that is a piece of advice that you've heard, which I'm pretty sure it is, right? And this also like goes into a little bit with like the most qualified person gets the job. And that's not true. Right. So, and for if any of you guys are looking to change careers or even do something like new, that should free you a little bit. Because let me tell you, the most qualified person does not get the job. And a lot of you guys have probably even said yourself, or even maybe heard your friends or people around you saying stuff like, well, I'm applying, right? And I know I have the experience, but I cannot get the job that I want. And that alone should prove you that experience alone does not get you the job. And I say that because, for one, it's really, really important to understand that when you're able to connect what you have to what they need, that is what lands you the job. So you can have all the experience that you want, right? But if you do not know how to speak to their needs and be able to express to them how you're able to help them, you will not get the job. You'll find yourself going on job interview after job interview and not getting the job, right? So I want you guys to understand that experience it does not play as big of a part as you guys may think, right? You guys need to get clear on what is the value that I actually bring forth, right? And not just what is it that I do, but what is it that I do that's able to help them. So don't get so focused on, going back to school or thinking that when it's time to change career that you have to start over, because that's not true. It's not. What you got to get clear on is your skill set, right? When I say skill set, meaning like what skills are able to be transferred over to other different roles. Not just you staring at this job ad and looking at, oh, I don't have that, I don't have that, I don't have that. Are you sure? Right? And I tell people where experience lacks, knowledge of that thing should exceed. So if you do lack experience in something, right, just be happy and fine with that or sad, right? But start to really look and see what is the knowledge that I need to get to fill this experience gap, right? When I was at HR, we hired plenty of people that didn't check every single box. The best thing is that when you are sitting in that seat, that you don't leave yourself in a place to where they ask you, hey, do you have experience in this? And you go, no, and then that's it, right? But if you have knowledge of something and you are able to speak to the knowledge of the thing, that can also help. But you also have to really get comfortable with just articulating the value that you bring. And the value that you bring, guys, is not always hands-on experience, right? And so I want you to put yourself in a box thinking that you can't have the job that you want because you don't check every box, which leads me to my next point. You hear people saying stuff like don't apply unless you meet all of the job requirements. And let me say this. A lot of you guys have way more than what you need, and you keep thinking that you don't have enough, right? But when you're looking at wanting to do something else, right? Again, you being able to identify what those transferable skills are, that is going to be key. But also, focus on that particular role and what are the strengths that are needed for that role, right? Because you may see a job and it might say, okay, they may ask for all these different experience, right? But that's why you guys have to begin to know what part of the process does that role play. And you have to be able to determine, do my strengths speak to this role? Doesn't mean I have to check every single box, but what it does mean is, are there any strengths that I have, right, that this role mainly consists of? So stop thinking like about everything you don't have, and think about the things that you do have, and do your strengths actually speak to that actual role, right? Again, you want to reframe your lack of experience and stop saying that I don't have experience, and start thinking like, I don't have experience yet, or I have not had yet the opportunity to operate in this kind of role, right? Because how you think about yourself is what holds you back a lot of the times. And just because one person said no, right, does not mean that everybody else will. So I want you guys to get out of your head so much and stop thinking that you got to be some kind of perfect candidate. Get clear on the value that you have, right? And really begin to speak to how you're able to solve whatever issues they have, and allow that to be your strength. Focus more on your strengths and not on those weak areas. I'm not just saying stuff that I saw that looked good. I was in HR. I know the kind of people that we hired. I know the kind of people that we turned down, right? And so don't just think or just automatically ride on this air that because you have the experience that I'm done. Because the job market is becoming more and more competitive, and you need to be able to really keep up with that. And a lot of you guys, friend, I'm going to be honest, a lot of you guys that do have the experience, right? And you have a lot more than the experience. Sometimes when you're going through the interview process, you can come off as unteachable because you do have the experience, right? So that can kind of put somebody off as well. So even if you do have the experience, you always want to come across as, you know what, I do have the experience, but I'm always open to learning more. The third tip is, or the advice you guys have probably heard, is just be happy that you have a job. Now, I know you guys have heard that advice over and over again. Just be happy that you have a job. Stop complaining, especially right now, right? We're seeing all of these layoffs happening. And don't get me wrong, I feel for the people. I have been in one myself. It doesn't feel good. But what I don't want you guys to do is, I don't want you guys to frame your reality around somebody else, because you can still be very much aware of what is happening around you, and you can be compassionate for those as well, right? But somebody else's struggles doesn't have to be yours, right? And so I don't even want you guys operating out of a place of fear when everybody else is, right? Again, acknowledge what is happening, be very compassionate, but don't let what happens to somebody else's become your reality. Because now you find yourself in this mindset when you know you've been wanting to make a move, right? You've been wanting to advance, but now you're saying, okay, wait, hold on. I see all of these people around me, right? And I don't know anybody else's relationship with the Lord, but mine is what God has for me is for me. And if God says move, I'm going to move regardless of what is happening around me. And that is a level of confidence that I want you to start operating in, and knowing that, hey, everybody else may be experiencing some bad stuff right now. And guess what? There is some bad stuff happening right now. But what does that have to actually do with me? Now, I'm not saying this is the best time to just up and just quit your job. I'm not saying that, but I am saying is that if you are in the middle of planning a move, don't stop. I was I was watching the news the other day, and this guy was saying, he said, at the time when everybody else is buying, don't buy. But he says when everybody else has stopped, that's when you buy, right? Because we think that I'll see the most success when I'm doing what everybody else is doing. But that's not true, right? A lot of times when you see trends and things happening, that's actually the time to just to kind of like, okay, let me slow down a little bit, right? But even in this time, right, I want you guys to understand and know. And again, I'm always going to go back to faith because that is just what I believe in. Like, don't allow other things to dictate what you should be doing at this time. If you want to go after something, do it. And so, back to the whole just be happy that you have a job advice. Yeah, I do believe that um, you do need to be happy. Yes, I do have a job, right? But just because I have a job does not mean that I need to ignore all the red flags that saying that it's time for something more, right? It doesn't mean that I need to ignore the fact that I know that I want to make more of an actual impact with my skill set, right? So you can still be grateful for something, but know that it's time to move on. And even in your career, right? Again, the market has changed. I know a lot of you guys, you like to feel secure and stay at a company for 20 and 30 years. Hey, and if you get that opportunity, I think, hey, that's fine too. But just make sure that you're staying there because your needs and expectations are being met, not just because you want to feel safe. Because I know a lot of times when you feel safe, when you feel comfortable, that's not always a good thing. If you are working in a current role and you're like, man, I'm good, like, you feel like your job is super easy, I don't have to do much. You're really putting yourself in a really vulnerable spot because one, your skill set is getting stale, right? You'll find your actual growth being stunted, right? Because you are so comfortable in your job and you're not being able to face any kind of challenges. You're not able to do anything new in your work. So what happens is your skills become tailored to that certain place. And when you're thrown in the job market out of the blue, which we have been seeing, right, for the last few weeks, so people getting laid off over and over, when you get thrown in the job market out of the blue, you're absolutely terrified because you kept it in the back of your mind that I'm going to be here forever, right? And as long as you work for anybody, it's never a permanent job. So if anything, what I'm saying is sparking something, and I don't care if you like, girl, you don't know what you're talking about, be quiet. I don't, if it's sparking anything, because what we need to realize, guys, is outdated career advice can hurt you. It's not saying that these things did not help people at one point, right? But you have to be able to look at the current market and know where we are and being able to know how to maneuver your career, your like what is best for you, because what is best for you may not be the best for everyone. And I'm not going to say that what I'm saying can help the 7 billion people that live in the earth. But what I can say is that it's important to take this information and be able to apply it and be able to know and discern, is this information for me? So yes, be grateful that you have a job, but don't use that as a some kind of crutch to hold on to because you are afraid to move on. Right. And so it's like, okay, yes, I think you need to be happy. You have a job, but look at what you're saying being happy to. Right. Okay. Are you supposed to be happy because you are overworked? Right. Yes, you have a job, but you are being underpaid by 20, 30, $40,000. So what part of that are you supposed to be happy about? And you may have once been happy, right? But I want you guys to have the understanding that you are going to grow. And as you grow, you need to be able to know that what you want and need is going to change, right? How I was when I was young, I wasn't married, I didn't have any kids. It's completely different now that I'm married and I have a child, right? So I want you to know that you can begin to honor the person that you are now, and that's okay. And the reality is that you don't need anybody else to actually validate whether or not it's time to actually move on, right? Another outdated advice is working hard is going to get you like moved up. And that's not the case, right? If you are in corporate America, you need to know how to play the corporate game. I tell my clients this all the time. You cannot work in an environment, for one, that was not created to make you successful. Again, you look at corporate, they were made to make corporations successful, not you. So you cannot walk into this environment with these green eyes thinking that they want the best for you, right? They will be on your side somewhat, right? They may give you what you want somewhat, but at the end of the day, you have to know that their success is going to be their priority, period. And guess what, y'all? Nothing personal, it's business, right? And so I don't want you guys to feel all the time that you are being done wrong, because the reason why you feel like you are being done wrong is because you are taking this thing personal. I need you to start seeing your job, your boss, start seeing this as a business deal, right? Start seeing this as a partnership, meaning that you have a problem, I have a skill set that solves that problem, and you pay me for that, right? Now, I'm not saying that you can't form relationships at work. I'm not saying that you can't have a love for your work or really enjoy where you work at. But at the end of the day, right, you have to come first. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because they will always put themselves first. Look at all of these layoffs. If you really like look at the news, a lot of these particular places are not even doing bad. They just hear that a recession is coming. They don't even know how much of an impact they will face. But because it's a small possibility that they will face something or a loss, you go. Oh yes, they enjoy, they love the work that you did. But at the end of the day, they will do whatever they have to do to make sure that they don't sink, and you have to be that way. And that is not selfish, that is smart. I tell my clients, do not get so emotionally connected to your job that you, for one, lose yourself. You start to actually compromise on who you are, right? And you forget about the career that you said that you wanted, because now you have given yourself fully over to somebody that is not looking out for your best interest. And guess what? You cannot take it personal. It's business. Their name is on that sign outside. It's not yours. I myself, I own a business. I own a business, right? And I have 3 people on my team right now, which I deeply care about. But if I have to make a choice whether I sink or swim, right? I gotta choose my business, and it's nothing personal. And the people on my team, I tell them all the time, I care for you. If you ever get the itch that you want to do something else, never feel like you got to ignore what you need so I can be happy. Don't ever do that. Right. And so I want you guys to stop taking your career so personal. Don't take it personal. The only thing that you need to take to heart like that is your happiness. That's it. And give yourself the opportunity to learn and know that every job is not going to be a forever job. Some jobs you will learn and earn, and then bam, I'm going. I'm out. So I know this is not your traditional career advice, right? But we're living in a time in a society where you can't get comfortable, right? I'm seeing it up and down my timeline on LinkedIn. Oh my God, I'm so shocked this morning. I woke up and I don't have a job anymore. Like, you can feel the utter shock. And I'm not taking away from that. I have been in a layoff. I know how it feels, right? But that's also why I think the way that I think, right? Because I know that working in a job, it does not mean that I'm going to be there forever. And guess what? You should not want to be there forever either, unless the company is just meeting and exceeding everything, and that rarely happens. Right. And I feel like a lot of people stay at a job because it's just out of fear. And so I don't want you guys, again, to keep thinking that if you work really, really hard, that means that you will experience the growth in your career that you want. Because in corporate, you got to work harder, not I'm no, you have to work smarter, not harder, right? So you overworking yourself, right? You want to take on all these extra assignments. You want to take on all these extra hours, and you folks that are paid so much, I can say, it's different if you get paid by the hour, right? I'm not saying that you should do it, but salary people get taken advantage of so much. Right, because you get paid salary, but you're working 80 hours. And so probably when you do the math, right, you could probably only be making $15 an hour or less because of the amount of time you put in. So you're thinking, if I just do all this work, right? I just do more and 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 more, they will see. But the reality is not about what they see, right? The reality is, what do you tell them? How do you advocate for yourself? How do you show up for yourself? That is what allows you to advance. It's not do. It's talk, 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 right? Being able to express your expectations, being able to let them know the value that you add, being able to express to them the part that you play in their success, being able to sit down and say, hey, what is the growth plan for these roles, right? That is what allows you to advance in your career, not you just sitting down and being able to pile on more work, because you overworking yourself is not going to gain their respect. It does not work. If anything, it lets them, they almost start to have less of a respect for you, because when you overwork yourself, right, when you go past your point and you're on the way to being burnt out, right, when you completely burnt out, right, they're not thinking, oh, she's so loyal, oh man, what would we do without her? They're thinking, hey, if nobody else is going to do it, she's going to do it. They start seeing you as some kind of like work mule, right? Again, we're talking about corporate friends. I don't want you to be tricked, right? And if your employer does not appreciate you in the first place, you can't give somebody else more of something that they don't appreciate in the first place. Like, it's kind of like the bad relationship we all had. You knew this guy you was dating was utter trash, but you kept thinking, if I just do this for him, or if I just gave myself over to him more, if I change the way I look, if I keep doing more, that is going to make him change. And guess what? How many know in most cases he got worse? Like, we've all had those relationships, right? He got worse because you giving something more to somebody who does not appreciate in the first place, right? It makes it worse, because now you set the limit of what they should expect from you, and you show them that I'm gonna give you everything and you don't have to give me anything, and I'm still gonna give you more and more and more. So you have trained your employer how to treat you. So if you are being very disrespected at work, or you feel like I'm taking on all this extra work and I haven't gotten paid, and they're doing this to me, and you haven't opened up your mouth and said nothing about it, you're just sitting there and you're taking, and you're mad and you're stressed out, you taught your employer how to treat you. Take accountability of that. Right now, I'm not saying that it makes them right, meaning that, oh, it's not any of that. No, they are wrong, right? But you got to take accountability for the standard that you have put at work, right? and being able to even advance in your career. To see that success is going to take you being self-aware. I've had to be aware of myself, right? This is not to you be like, oh, I'm so horrible. No, but this should make you excited to know, like, wait a minute, I need to take a little bit more control over my career and not start feeling like I got to just take whatever they just hand over to me. And this is not to say to go out and find a perfect job, because there is no perfect job. Absolutely. Everywhere you go, there's going to be something about that you like, I think I could do that a little bit, more. Right. But the power in your career comes from you knowing I have the power to decide what I will and what I won't accept. Right. So you're not as powerless in your career as you think you are. You are not as oh, okay, I just take what I can get. All right. No, friend, and that's one of the things that I do for my clients. That's one of the things I do. Yes, I help them to make a move, but I have clients that work with me that don't want just a new job, but they want to be able to show up differently in their work. They want to be able to take back that control. They want to be able to develop the skills that they need to develop to see the success that they want, because a lot of times you are the bottleneck in your career. It's you stopping you. It's the bad traits that you have. It's the skills. It's the areas that you don't want to grow in. That is what's keeping you back. It's not that, it's not that you feeling like folks don't want to hire you, or I'm at work and I don't see the respect that I want to see. Friend, it's you. It's not them. You got to change the way that you show up at work, right? So when you start to not make excuses for where you are, but you start to own it and you say, you know what? It's me. I'm the one who comes to work every day and don't talk to anybody, but yet I expect to move into leadership roles. How do you expect them to move you up into these lead roles? And friend, you don't want to talk to nobody. You say, all I want to do is just go to work and just go home. Hey, friend, that's what you want to do? Fine, but do not expect to be moved up in positions where you have to manage and lead people and you don't want to deal with people. That's not going to happen. Or what's going to happen is, if you get the job, you end up being like the very boss you don't like. You end up being the same way, right? So when you start to be self-aware and don't just focus on getting the job, I have to get the job, thinking, what do I need to become? Who do I need to be? So when I get this job, I can get it right. Right? I can enjoy my success, right? And so, like, the next outdated career advice is something I know you guys, you guys hear me talk about all the time. Oh, look at the chat. Alicia, always so grateful for your platform and your truth. Oh, thank you, Elise. Thanks, Alicia, for your reminders today. Thank you, thank you. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying this stream. The next advice is job hopping. Now, I'm pretty sure after after everything I just said, you guys know how I feel about job hopping. Again, sometimes you're there to learn and earn, and then you are, and there's nothing personal. This aspect of company loyalty is completely dead. Only thing you need to be loyal to is yourself. Right. So I think it's really good to set the right expectations once you start somewhere, so you can kind of know what to expect, and also kind of have an idea of how long you plan on actually being there and what is the point of you wanting this job. Because there are some jobs you will have to take just to learn some skills to get you to that dream job, right? And then there are some seasons in your career you like, Alicia, I've always been doing really deep work. I'm ready to just relax. I want to just rest. I don't really want this next position to really demand a lot from me. Cool, right? And then there are also some jobs where you may want to work in a certain place, but you gotta like work your way up, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? The thing is that you have to be able to set the expectation and don't get stuck there. That's what happens with a lot of people, right? You finally get a job. You're like, oh, this job search is over with. Thank the Lord. And you're cool. And you look up and it's 5 years. You're like, I was only supposed to stay 2. and I've been here 5, right? And so a lot of people tend to get really stuck. And so the key is to don't be afraid to make a move. Remember, when you make a move, when you change a job, that's the opportunity where you can increase your salary by thousands of dollars. Whereas when you stay at a job, you may get that 2 to 3% raise, right? Maybe, right? If that. But when you get a new job, you can get an extra 15, 25, 30K more. I've helped clients get up to $75,000 more than their last job. So do not be afraid to move, right? The question is, and the most important thing to remember is that when you move, is to be clear on why do you want to move? Why do you want a new job? I do not agree with you job hopping because you are just unsure and you find yourself hopping to job, hoping that something just gets right. I don't think that's right. I think that when you make a move, it needs to be with strategy, and you need to be clear on what that move is about, right? And so that's my take on job hopping. I said it before, I see it as like career shopping. It's kind of like, let me see, right? But again, in you wanting to get something new, knowing what you want out of that move is very important. The next one I see on LinkedIn all the time is this like more like a job search thing, is your resume only has to be 1 page. I really wish that people would stop doing that. Your resume needs to be however long it's going to take for you to get across your skill set, right? Now, I don't think a resume should be 4 and 5 pages. Rarely should it be even 3, right? But in the case, right, don't feel like you got to smash all your experience down just to get it on 1 page, right? Your resume needs to articulate, right, how your skill set solves the problems that they have. That's what the resume needs to do, right? And a lot of times, if you have been in your career for a long amount of time, right, you may not be able to fit that on 1 page. So I've seen people use like size 8 and 9 fonts. Okay, you've gotten your resume on 1 page, but the person who's reading it can't even read it, right? Again, people are focused on the wrong thing. You're focused on the wrong things, like the things that you think plays a big factor in your career success doesn't mean anything. So don't feel like you got to squeeze your resume into this one page just so it looks neat. Like, I've read thousands of resumes. I don't care about the font. I don't care if it looks cute. I care about the information on the page. And so don't feel like you gotta, leave out important details so you're able to get, all the information on the page. It doesn't mean anything. But the next one is follow your passion. Okay. And I have mixed feelings about this. First of all, I feel like when you talk about follow your passion, let me say this. I feel like some things need to just be left a hobby. I feel like we are in a society where we're trying to like monetize everything, and we are not remembering that we could just do stuff to do it just because we enjoy it. Everything doesn't have to be a business, and everything does not have to be monetized. You can just enjoy doing something and you're fine with that, right? So allow me to say this. Also, I do believe that your passion does need to be able to provide you a paycheck. You know what I mean? I don't believe that, that your passion should leave you struggling, because you do have obligations to deal with, right? So I have mixed feelings about that. I do think that, and the clients that I work with, their work does need to mean something. A lot of how I coach my clients is around career fulfillment and career alignment. And so the people that work with me, they need to enjoy the work that they do. It doesn't have to be a passion, right? But they do need to feel a little bit of connection with the work that they do, because that does affect how they show up at work, right? And so, when you're talking about being able to follow a passion, it's hit and miss. And the downside of this, right, is because everybody is thinking that they have to find out what that particular passion is before they can move forward. That's a side of it that I really don't like, because I tell people that when it comes to your passion, or you even thinking about what it is you want to do next, you get answers by doing. not by thinking. And so I don't want people to think that they cannot enjoy their work because it's not something that just feels so ooh about, right? Because I don't think that's true either. And I don't think that your work experience, meaning the relationship that you have with your work, needs to have you so emotionally involved in it, unless possibly you own your own business in something, because I think you have a little bit more control over it. But I feel like the advice to like follow your passion can be very misleading, because you have to know that even if you are able and have the opportunity to operate in a job that you love so much, right? This is like your heart's cry. I think that, you set unrealistic expectations, because even if you're doing something you absolutely love, there will be days where you don't want to go to work. You know what I mean? It'll be days you like, oh, you'd be like, no, PTO me, please. Like I'm done. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, right? So, but I feel like when you tell yourself that I have to be passionate about the work I do, you don't allow yourself to experience real emotions. And so if you are one that you do want to go after something that you just feel so near and dear to heart, for one, make sure that you understand what is the market for that kind of role. Does that kind of role offer you the lifestyle that you desire? Because if you're operating in your dream or whatever, and you're like, ooh, but if it's not paying your bills, you're not going to feel any fulfillment, right? Because you're operating in something that you feel awesome about, but that feeling is going to turn into instant regret because it doesn't provide you the life that you want. So you can't even focus on, I got this amazing job. You also have to focus on, man, I have to pay bills too. Right. So again, I think some things need to be left a hobby, and we don't have to make everything a full-time job. All right. And this is my last one. The next advice I feel like is outdated is only interview for jobs you want. First of all, a lot of you guys that struggle with interviews, I need you to understand this. It's a skill. And I don't think you need to let me say this. I don't think you need to use the time that you would use for those roles that you're really excited about, the roles that you really want, as a time to practice doing that. I tell people, as soon as you realize I want to do something else, start applying for jobs, even if you don't want them, because you need the practice. Do not wait until you get the call for that dream job and you like, oh my God, I have not had an interview in 10 years, in 5 years, in 2 years, right? Because now you won't be able to fully enjoy the process of it because you're nervous and you're scared to death. So even if you, soon as you think I'm ready to look for something else, or apply for jobs you don't want, so you can get the practice of talking about your experience and yourself. And then now when you land that opportunity, right? Now you can go in there feeling more sure about yourself, because you've allowed yourself to really work through those nerves. And it's probably a really unpopular opinion. I feel like even if you are in a job that you love, you still need to interview at least 1 to 2 times a year. Keep that skill fresh, right? So if something happens out the blue and you're thrown in that job market, you're not in utter shock, right? Because you've allowed yourself to use that skill. What people say, if you don't use it, you lose it. And so that's what it is, how it is when it comes to this, that you guys need to remember, hey, I love my job, but I may not always be here forever. So I need to be sure on the back end that I'm able to really build these skills up. So let's go ahead and do a really quick recap. One old outdated advice that you guys need to stop doing is or believing is that experience gets you the job, and that the most qualified person is hired. Also, don't apply unless you meet all the requirements. Also, just be happy you have a job. Job hopping is wrong. Your resume should only be 1 page. Only interview for jobs you want, and follow your passion. Is all career advice that we need to throw away for 2023. Guys, I hope this live stream was able to give you some insight on how you need to start thinking about your job as a whole. Just FYI, I will not be streaming next week. I usually stream every Tuesday at 7:15 Central Standard Time, but I will be out of town. I will be getting my rest. So I will not be live streaming today, but I will definitely be back. If you want to catch this replay, you can on my YouTube channel at I am AliciaPerkins.com. If you want to get exclusive content from me, make sure that you do sign up to join my list at careert.me. That is careertea.me. And if you would like to work with me one-to-one, please make sure that you go to I am AliciaPerkins.com. I am AliciaPerkins.com. And guys, that is it. I will see you guys